Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Jeremy. Every week I'm going to make a new videos about history topics. If you're a student in school or you're just interested about history, then this channel might be for you. Alright, today we are going to talk about the Old Kingdom period of Egypt. So, I mentioned earlier in the previous video that Egypt has the longest history ever. It exists for about 3,000 years because Egyptian history is so long that the historian must divide their history into several parts. Think it as a bookmark in a thick book. The first part is the unification of Egypt, which is I already make a video about it. Go ahead, check it out if you haven't watched it. And then the second part is the Old Kingdom period, which is we are going to talk about it today. And then later in the future, we're going to talk about the Middle Kingdom period and also the New Kingdom period. And somewhere in between of these parts, we also have what we call the intermediate period. Let's talk about the Old Kingdom period of Egypt. The Old Kingdom period of Egypt starting from 3150 until 2184 BC. So basically that's roughly about 300 years. Yes. So the Old Kingdom period was the most prosperous time for the Egyptian, the most peaceful time for the Egyptians. In fact, the Egyptians experienced what we call a golden age. Now, what is golden age? Golden age is a period of a time that a city or a country or a nation experience its prosperity, peace, and happiness. Yes, Egypt had it during the Old Kingdom period. And that's all because Egypt is united between the upper and the lower Egypt. They become very powerful because they were unified under one person, someone who has the title as the Pharaoh. And then the first Pharaoh who united this upper and lower Egypt is someone by the name of Menes. I make a video already about it that the Pharaoh here is a big deal. Pharaoh is not just ordinary king. Pharaoh is being treated as a god. Now as a god, he has a huge responsibility, especially there in Egypt. The Pharaoh were responsible to control everything, the surrounding, the natures, everything around the Nile River, that everything must work properly, everything must work as it should be. The Nile River shouldn't be run dry. The flood or the inundation always happens twice a year at the perfect timing. The sun will always have to set in the west and rise in the east. The stars and the moons and everything must behave accordingly. And that job is being given to the Pharaoh because Pharaoh is the god. In fact, the Pharaoh was being treated as a god. There is this kind of like belief that the Pharaoh cannot get sick. The Pharaoh may not be old. In the olden times, the moment that the Pharaoh start to get sick or the moment that the Pharaoh start to get old, they will kill the Pharaoh and they will pick another person to become the Pharaoh. Sounds brutal. Yes, it is brutal. Now, however, though, over the times that practice is no longer being practiced anymore, but they replace it with some kind of like a festival. We call it as a Hepset festival. It's the festival where the Pharaoh have to demonstrate to everyone that he is being physically fit. Like basically it's a physical test. Like he will have to run around the court, and after that he will have to be able to do the archery to prove that somehow he still have a great vision. And also, he must be able to do wrestling with the younger men. So, if he succeed, that means him as a pharaoh are qualified to stay on his throne as the god. Now, because the role of the pharaoh is very important, especially as a god, they will do anything. They will do everything for the pharaoh, including to make sure that the pharaoh will be resurrected, will come back to life after he died. Yes. The Egyptian is very religious people, and then they believe about the afterlife. They believe that the dead people can come back to life, but not in the horror movie way, not in this kind of like, the Michael Jackson thriller kind of like, video clip, but come back to life as in that he will rule again forever in the afterlife. Now, one of the beliefs that the ancient Egyptian has about the afterlife or about the life after death is two things. Every dead person, including the Pharaoh especially, must be embalmed or must be preserved. Their body cannot just be simply being buried and after that like slowly being rotten away. No, but it has to be preserved as it is. So that's why Egyptian mummified their Pharaoh because they believe that someday the Pharaoh will come back to life. Egyptian also, they will build tombs to put this mummy in a safe place. So nobody can harm, nobody can harass, nobody can damage the mummy, or even worse, burn the mummy. Because the worst thing that you can do to a dead ancient Egyptian pharaoh is to burn their mummy, because this is like what they believe. If the mummy is being burned, if the dead body is being burned, then that pharaoh cannot return to life. His spirit will be wandering around without being able to be resurrected. So that's what they believe. If you're asking me, is it true? Of course it's not. This is like the ancient Egyptian belief, okay? Since we talk about Egyptian history, so we need to understand that that is what they believe, but that is not what we believe as Christians. We believe also in resurrection, but not in that way. Because as a Christian, we believe that the resurrection, we receive the resurrection if we believe that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior, and He gave us the resurrection. He will give us the salvations when He comes for the second time. Now, the fun part, the tombs. Now, as I said earlier, Egyptian is very religious, and then they take it seriously about the mummification and also the tombs. The early Egyptians, they buried their dead under the sand. So basically, they call it as the sand pit. They will dig out a sand deep enough, and after that, they put the dead body together with also with the belongings and also the treasures, because the Egyptian believed that these treasures and these belongings will be needed in the afterlife for that person's. Somehow, apparently, it didn't work, because later on, as the wind blows the sand, what happened with the dead body? The dead body is being exposed, and not just that one. Apparently, there's this kind of wild animals known as jackals, and these jackals are carnivores, and then they prefer to eat decaying meats. So what would they do? They will dug up this kind of like sand pit and then eat the dead body, which is the Egyptian find it's kind of like disturbing. So they must do something about it to protect the dead body, because otherwise that poor pharaoh, that poor dead person cannot come back to life. So they come up with a solution by building tombs. So it's a rectangular tombs made out of a stone. Sometimes it's made out of a mud brick that they pile it up. And then they figure it out that they can make it more beautiful by stacking up another kind of like rectangular structures on top of it. And then this kind of like structure, we call it as the Mastaba. It's from the Arabic word, which means bench, because it looks like a bench somehow. And then here's the thing, the higher the stack, the better. And then as you can see from the stacks of the Mastaba, it looks like a stair. So the higher it is, the better. The higher it is, the more important it is for the person who is being buried inside of that tomb. Over the times, the ancient Egyptians, they become creative. They start to build the mastabas higher and higher. However, though, it has a risk, it has a challenge. The more stacks that you put on top of this mastaba, the heavier it is for the lower part of this mastaba to support the weight of the mastaba on top of it. And then if you put it too high, then what will happen? The rock under the mastaba, it will crack, it will crumble. So to a certain point, they cannot build mastaba as high as they can go. They cannot build mastaba as high as they want. It has a limitation because of the weight of the rock. One of the pharaoh from the Old Kingdom period, Snefru, he discovered a secret. He discovered a way, a technique, how to build a better tombs. So you see from this kind of like pictures of the mastaba, it looks like a steps. So the higher the better, but at the same time, the smoother is the surface, the better also. That look perfectly like a true pyramid. And then to build a true pyramid like this is a big challenge. And the person who found the way, the technique to make this true pyramid is someone by the name of Snefru, Pharaoh Snefru. He was being helped by his great architect, someone by the name of Imhotep. Yes, Imhotep and Snefru built the first true pyramid in Darfur, known also as the Red Pyramid. It's not as big as the three great pyramids of Giza, but then again, it was being considered to be as the first true pyramids. So as you can see the progress here, from the sandpit to mastaba, and then now to a true pyramid. Now did I say making a pyramid is not an easy thing? The journey of making the true pyramid is not an easy task. For Snefru, he suffers a lot. before he finally built the first true pyramid, he had another two pyramids. It was a failed experiment. The first pyramid that he tried to build, because here using the wrong materials, he's using a soft limestone to make the surface smooth. What happened is after the storm, the pyramids crumble and collapse, and then it looks just like a tower being surrounded with rubbles. Oh, by the way, when I say like building pyramid is not easy, it's also expensive, and then it takes many years to build. Sometimes it takes the whole lifetime of a pharaoh before it's finished. Well, if you're the pharaoh, then you better be hopeful that the tomb is finished before you die. Because why? Your mummy will be put there. Your body will be put inside there. Can you imagine that you are a pharaoh and then you died without finishing the tomb? So the second pyramid that Snefru tried to build, it also failed. Snefru put too much stone on top of the pyramid that the pyramid was about to be collapsed. The pyramid is about to be crushed. It's about to be crushed because like the lower stone could not support the rest of the stack of the pyramid. So he must stop the project. So that's why the pyramid looks like this. We know it as the bent pyramid because it somehow looks kind of like bent. From all of this mistake, from these two mistakes that he built, he did not give up. He perfected the technique how to build a better pyramid with the help of Imhotep, the great architect, and he built the first true pyramid in Darshur. It was a beautiful pyramid. The color of the stone is red. Well, maybe not obviously brightly red, but if you look at it, it's kind of like red. So to get a red stone in Egypt is not an easy thing because it must be quarried far away in the upper Egypt. So that was the first true pyramid built by Snefru. After the death of Pharaoh Snefru, the legacy is being passed down to his son, a pharaoh by the name of Khufu, or the Greek call him as a Cheops. So Khufu built the largest pyramid in the world, and it requires 10,000 workers to build it. And it took about 22 years to finish this pyramid. By the way, if you're thinking like somehow the workers are the slaves, the workers are being forced to work, no, we are wrong. These workers are the Egyptian volunteers. Twice a year, Egyptians will have a holiday. While the Nile River is flooded, well, basically these farmers cannot do anything about it. They cannot plant, they cannot harvest, so they end up idle. Now, in their idleness, they are willingly to help to build the pharaoh, to build their pyramid. These Egyptian workers, they believe that if they help their pharaoh building the pyramids, they will receive afterlife after they die. So now, the second largest pyramid is being built by a pharaoh by the name of Khafre. Pharaoh Khafre. He's the son of Khufu. He followed the legacy of his father by building the pyramid. The bigger, the better. Now, this time, his pyramid not as great as Khufu, but his pyramid was famous one because it has this figure, half lion, half man, known as the Sphinx. It symbolized the strength of a lion and the wisdom of man. Well, perhaps you were wondering like where is the nose? Nobody knows. It's still a mystery like what happened with the nose of the Sphinx. And then the third largest pyramid is made by the son of Pharaoh Khafre, someone by the name of Menkaure. Now all of these three great pyramids was being built in Giza, in the western side of the Nile River. There are this interesting belief that the ancient Egyptian have during those times is the land on the western side of the Nile River is considered to be the land of the dead, and meanwhile the land on the eastern side of the Nile River is considered to be the land of the living, simply because they thought that the sun always set in the west. Therefore, it is rightful for them to build the tombs in the west. So there you go, that explains why most of the ancient Egyptian tombs are built in the west, not in the east. Usually the cities are in the east, the west is usually the tombs. So there you go, this is like one of the richness of the Egyptian culture, which is we will talk more about it. Thank you for watching. I see you guys next time. God bless you guys all. Bye bye.